Welcome everybody to our Amud Yomi Shiur. We are in Bava, Metzia, and Zayin Amud Beis. We're going to start today from the first wide line or the last narrow line, recapping on yesterday. This year's Lulishmas of Imur Menachem Elikiva Rusba Shalom Sol Bas Moshe Rafuas Chana Bat Simon Rafuas Naama Bas Rachel Rama Rafuas Chaim Ben Sete Algen Chana Sarah Bas Yael Norman Crow ולרפואה סביבה בס דבוירו, לאה בס תומו, לאה בס, את לחיים. להצלוחס חן, להצלוחס גבריאל יוסף בן מרתה, שיעור שלמה. Let's recap on yesterday. Actually, let's start reading and then we'll recap as we go along. Time at the cost of lehachi. We are now talking about, the line starts with words time at the cost of lehachi. What is the topic at hand today? We're talking today about, a breach of contract. You should know the topic of this entire parak, as far as I can see so far, is all about breaches of contract. When somebody has a contract, he has an agreement, verbal, oral, whatever, written, and there's always a question when mainly verbal agreements up until now, and there's a breach of the contract. You didn't follow along what was originally intended to be. And up until now, we spoke about workers. And Baruch Hashem, I wrote down this morning a summary, and I'm going to share it with you. But now we're going to talk about the last topic we had, and that is a breach of contract in case of what? Of a sale of a field. A person received the first payment of the field, right? That first payment, let's out of 1,000 that my field costs, I received 200. It sounds like either I, let's say I'm the seller, or the buyer may regret the sale until the last payment was done, until it wasn't fully paid. Of course, the question is why, but it sounds like if a first payment was given, it's not assumed that the deal is a done deal. We did not assume that that first money means, that money was given as a symbolic payment to buy the entire land. It's not assumed. Up until me receiving the entire 1,000, let's say even up until the last penny, which will be discussed later, that the deal is not yet a deal I can regret. However, what does it do in our Mishnah, this story? Because it's another case of Yoda la Tachtoino. The one who changes, the one who regrets the deal, either the seller or the buyer, they may do that, but they'll have to suffer the conditions of and the details of the cancellation are not up to the one who cancels. It's up to the other guy, which means, let's say I'm the seller and I cancel the deal, and the buyer is there stuck high and dry, up the gum tree, you say, the buyer is the one who's suffering. Then the buyer can tell me, listen, the deal is canceled, but I, the buyer, I will decide whether to get money compensation or get a piece of the land. How it's going to be done is up to the one who lost, because it's a knas. We fine the one who breached the contract. Even though it's legal, it's like a gray area. You may do that. It's not a completely done deal, but it's not nice, to speak in very Balabatish terms, not nice to break that deal, and therefore the one who broke it has to be the one who doesn't have the conditions on his side. I, the seller, let's say I breached, I changed the deal, me, the seller, I cannot say, I will decide whether you're going to get part of the field or the one you paid for, or I'll pay you your money back. No, the buyer who suffers, he will decide whether he wants his money back or he wants to stay with 1/5 of the land. Yeah. This is an oral agreement? That is an oral agreement. However, comes Reb Shimon Gamliel and says, listen, let's make it a kono and have a written agreement saying that it's clear. If it's clear to us and we write it down and we say that the deal is a done deal, and the 800 that wasn't given yet is just a debt, people owe money, just a separate debt, then it's a done deal, and nobody can return, and nobody can revoke, and nobody can regret. Very good. Time, I'm returning, even though I don't like to do it, because just to make it clear here for everybody. Talk to Gemara. Time, the cost of lehachi. The only reason why we say it's a done deal because it was written in the contract. Haloi cost of hachi, loikani. Right? First wide line. Ein Zayin Amud Beis. If it wasn't written, if it was just an oral agreement and it's not so clear, and I said, okay, here's my field for 1,000 and take 200, your 200 was given, or 500 or 100, then we say, no, it's not yet a done deal, it's not a kinyan, and therefore everybody can regret. Is that so? Vatanya, Look what it says in the Brisa. It says in the Brisa, a person who put a security payment for his friend, and he told his friend, the one who giving the security payment, if I regret, if I don't follow the deal, a lot of money could be. Yeah, we're making a deal in 1,000,000 shekel or 2,000,000 shekel, and I gave you 100,000. That's a lot of money, 100,000 shekels. You keep the money. It sounds too nice to be truth. The seller on his side says, if I regret the deal and I don't sell you the land, I'll give you, not only I'll give you back your 100,000, I'll give you back an extra 100,000. This guy wants to know Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi believes that even though the tnoim, the condition sounds exaggerated, yeah, because what? I'm losing for nothing. I mean what I say, and yes, that's the way it should follow. Yeah, and he should give him 100,000 even though he's receiving zero, or the other side will give extra 100,000 even though same thing, nothing was done. Rabbi Yossi has his own reasoning, which is not accepted lahalacha. Rabbi Yossi says, asmachta kanya, even an exaggerated promise, all kinds of things like gambling, like, all kinds of deals that involve money that doesn't sound logical. If the like Tzvi Rosen said, if the person says, I am mischayev, he's mischayev, that's it. Yeah, I owe you $1 billion, yeah, $1 billion. That's Rabbi Yossi. However, Rabbi Yehuda, which is more of the mainstream opinion, says no. No, if 100,000 was given, then the person who gave the 100,000 now will get a part of the field that corresponds to 100,000. Yeah, let's say it's 1,000,000. So then what? You'll get one part of the field worth 100,000, and that cannot be regretted because that 100,000 that he paid, but not more than that. But he has to get something for it. When is it true that he only gets keneged the rovoin and he doesn't get more than that? When do we say that my security money only gives me the part that corresponds to it, but doesn't grant me the entire land? Which means if the seller, there's big machlokas shown in here, I follow Rashi. Says Rashi, ervoini yikoin means if the buyer says something illogical, he says, I'm giving you 100,000 and I want that 100,000 to be koine to acquire the field of 2,000,000. What? Are you crazy? Excuse my language, yeah? The field is 2,000,000. 100,000, no, it doesn't get you the whole thing, right? And I don't believe that this is a symbolic thing. You really mean the 100,000 should be koine, the entire field? No. You get for what you pay for. 100,000, you get one room in my house, 100,000. Aval, and here we get to the punchline. Mochor l'stoda be'elef zuz, v'nosan l'mehem 500 zuz. Let's say it's not a security payment with this crazy idea that security should give me everything. Let's say the field was sold for 1,000. Yeah, that was the agreement. And 500 or even 200 or even 3 or even whatever was given, chono, then yes, there is full payment, which means if I agreed on 1,000,000 or 1,000, whatever, and I paid the first payment, again, what I told you before, without any extra words, it wasn't clear. It's a regular unclear case. Sounds like a first payment. Yeah, one payment. Here, I agreed to give you 1,000,000 for your house in Bet Shemesh. 3,000,000, and here's 100,000. We assume that's the first payment. Kono, that first payment, yeah, is what is really coined the whole thing. What about the other 900,000? And afterwards, he owes him the debt as a separate debt. Out of the 1,000,000, I gave you 100,000. I have to give you another 900,000 later. Now, wait a second. Right now, we have a contradiction. I really wrote it in a chart. If you received my chart yesterday in email, but that chart was ready with the answer. You should have 3 cases in your mind. Case number 1, when things are really crazy, meaning I say something illogical. I want this 100,000 to finish the deal, and I state it. It was a security payment. I want it 100,000 to be counted the whole thing. No, doesn't work that way. You only got the 100,000. The other extreme is what? Oh, so wait a second. But this Brisa says, if I didn't say that foolish sentence, I just gave 200 out of 1,000, out of 100,000. I gave 200. Yeah, I gave 200. Yeah. Then what? Then we assume that it is a done deal. It's a done deal. Nothing was stated. It's a done deal. And that's the first payment, and you're already in a course of point of no return. That's it. It's yours, the land. Now you just have to pay a debt. without saying anything extra. That's against what we said. Why? Because we had the third case that's in our brisa with Rashbag that said only if you state mefurash in a written contract, Rabbi, only if you write in a contract and you say, I hereby, Ploini ben Ploini, all the official language, I have decided it's a done deal, and I make the extra 800,000 as what? As a debt. Only then we say it's a done deal. Mashma did, if I didn't add those extra words, let's call it the Parav case. The Parav case. No statement was done. Yeah, it wasn't clear that it is a payment. It wasn't clear it wasn't. Stop. We decided on 1,000, and I paid you 200. On one end, we see it is a done deal. On the other price, we see it's not a done deal. What's the halacha? That's a question. It's so simple. I thought yesterday a bit confused. That's a question, and that's what we're holding yesterday. No questions for now. Yeah. Answers the Gemara. Loi kasha. Here we come to a big yesod. Not difficult. Ha de ka'ayl v'nafi kazuzi. Ha de loi ka'ayl v'nafi kazuzi. You know people who nag you? Did that ever happen to you? The people nag and nag and nag and nag and nag? It happens to me. Yeah. What happens if the person, the seller, keeps ayl v'nafi kazuzi? He keeps coming in and out to the house of the buyer, and he keeps asking for cash. I need the cash. I need the cash. I need the cash. Today it wouldn't be his house. Where would be the phone? Yeah. Right. Remember we have a deal of 1,000? You gave me 200? 1,000. No, 1,000. What does that mean? People sell lands for different reasons. This person, by his behavior of being like a neg and asking again and again, shows that the one and only reason he wants to get the land because he needs cash now. Sometimes you sell the land because I think most of you, if not all of you, sold your land in wherever. You made a liyat, Eretz Yisrael. Jealous of you. Yeah. You sell. Or sometimes people sell the land because the land is not good. To get rid of the land. Could be a rich man. He doesn't need the money so much. We'll talk about it later. This guy who keeps asking and nagging and sitting on your head shows that by him listening to the words, it's a bit stark what I'm saying. It's a condition by him that he wants to get the money now. So if I decided on 1,000, you gave me a 200, and you keep waiting and dawdling and playing games with me, while I, the seller, need the cash now, that shows that it's not a sale. Even though it's not written. As I told you yesterday and last week, sometimes the background information, the background context shows you, even nonverbal messages tell you what the deal is all about. However, and therefore, if he's asking for the money all the time, that shows, thank you. Oh, yeah, thank you. That shows that what? That by him it's a condition that if he doesn't get the money, he doesn't want the deal. And therefore, the seller may have the right to cancel the deal. However, with a knas, he'll cancel the deal, but because money was given, we're very, very hot and almost into a final deal, then he'll have to cancel it, but not with his conditions. However, the other side, if it's a regular sale, 200 now, and nothing was said about the rest of the money, and the seller is all cool, like you told me before, not to rush. Yeah, when I stepped in, he's as cool as a cucumber, as you say in English. He's not nagging too much about the money, gives him a phone call once every 2 months. Then what? It means it's not so hot on the money, not so urgent for him to get the money, not so pressed for money. Mimela, that's a regular deal, and therefore it is a finished, done deal. If I sold you for 10,000 for 1,000 and I got 200, and nothing was said, the assumption is this money is the done deal. What about the rest of the money? I don't have to make any special contracts. The assumption is that's it. We spoke about the deal. Money was given, and land may be nikna with money. That money, although not everything, and I'm very rich or I'm very botech b'Hashem, whatever I am, I'm not so pressed for the money. That's called the regular case. In such a regular case, we say that it is a deal and nobody can revoke. Only when the person is and like every 5 minutes it's another SMS and text message and the WhatsApps and emails and calls, that shows all he's here for is just for the money. If you keep telling me, maybe 2 months, mimela moving me'elov, it goes without saying that kind of deal is not what I'm looking for. My behavior proves my point more than my words, and therefore I can regret. Funnily enough, if you notice, both sides can regret. In other words, my chavrusa told me it makes sense because there's no one way without the other way. In other words, if the seller is so pressed for money and the seller says, listen, I need the money now. So if you're not giving me the money now, it's not a deal because I'm only here for the money. Then if it's not a deal, then it's not a deal both ways. And then the buyer can also regret, even though he doesn't have that motive. If it's not a deal, it's not a deal. It's mutual. That's the main thing here. Let's just see one more line. As Rava says is an Amoira. Rava basically, what we said now is Rava says it in one sentence. A person who sells anything to his friend, by the way, Toysa says also metaltalin. The same would apply if I buy the cup of tea or the phone from you. If the seller keeps coming in and out, negging every minute about the money, loikani, then it's not a deal. If there's, I would say, you know how I would describe it? I'm inspired by you. If there's a big gap here, big difference, discrepancy between the seller and the buyer when it comes to the payment plan, you can see the one side is very, very pressed, while the other one is now drinking his coffee, mañana. Then what? Then there is no then loikani. Then what? It's not a kini. He's not from Spain. It's a case from Chile. Yeah, loikani. They're not what? Loikani. There's no kinyan because you can see that's not what I came here for. I came for the money. You're not giving me the money. Maybe I can regret it, and so can you. However, it's a regular case. Yeah, everybody seems to be happy with the pace of payments. Yeah, nobody says anything. Kani. So let's summarize. If what's a regular sale? A regular sale means nothing was stated. We didn't specifically say, even in writing. Let's say you and I sold my house to you, and nothing was written, but we decided verbally on what? On 1,000, and you gave me cash. Giving cash, my friend, when karka is a kinyan. Don't forget, conceptually. If I give you cash for your shoes, or my coin your shoes without meshicha, yes or no? No, as you know, no. Mashenkin by karka, conceptually giving money, yes. Karka niknes bekesef, befurish, sodas bekesef ikonu. It's a pasuk in Yomi, yeah. Elamai, but the pace, so what? Everyone's happy with the pace, so it's a kinyan. Nobody can regret. The first payment is I went on a train that's a track of, a point of no return. That's the halacha. If one side, which is usually who? The seller is negging, and the other side is telling him, calm down. Oh, we're not talking the same language. I have a condition, even though it's not a verbal condition, that's not a sale. And therefore they can regret it, although with a knas. Now, what are the other two sides, the other two extremes? And you have it in your charts, by the way, in your computers, everybody. Yeah, I sent it yesterday night. Now, the other extreme is if let's say there's Reb Shimon Gamliel made the takana, in order to avoid that misunderstanding of I want to be paid quickly, you want to pay me slowly, in such a case, says Rashbag, let's avoid it and prevent it to begin with and write a contract, because you always say very correctly, a stitch in time saves 9. In other words, write clearly, it's a done deal. No regrets, like children play, no regrets. LMI, the extra 800 is a separate debt. On the other hand, the other extreme, if somebody makes an illogical request, I want my 100 to be coin of the whole thing. Yeah, what do you mean? You're not saying you're not even telling me you're going to pay me more. You're not talking bichlal about future payments. Like, that's leaving me, high and dry. What about the rest? And you went home. You and your lawyer. 100,000, good. What do you mean? Yeah. Then it's not a sale, according to Rashi. I think that was clearer than yesterday, right? Okay. Yes. Time for questions now. A short questions break. Okay. Let's go. Okay. Now, the Omarove comes Rov and tells us another piece of information. Interesting. Actually, very nogel alocha. Hai man de uzpei mea zuzi lechavre. A person lent his friend, as a loan. Yeah, he loaned his friend 100 zuzim. Upare zuza. Mr. Borrower is smart, and he's paying him every day 1 zuz before the time is over. He's just very annoying. In other words, every day he's paying him a zuz, and another zuz, and another zuz, and another zuz. Yeah, piroin havi. It's a piroin. In other words, it's a return. Ela de isle toim is gabei. The malve can tell the loive that's really annoying. I don't like it. I don't like your behavior. It's a toroimis. It's a bitter feeling. Not more than that. The omer lei afsidetinu minoi. You're causing me loss by selling, but not a real loss. You're causing me like some kind of loss by giving me the moist one by one. Why? When I get a wad of cash of it, let's say the entire 1,000 together, I can keep it in one place. But you give me one coin here, one coin there, once in Koilel, once at work, once in the Merkaz. You give me one by one in a bitty, very, very bitty, that is not convenient to the way I can maybe even lose it. But it's not a real claim. What does Rav have to do with their sugya? Because what did their sugya say? Our sugya said that you can pay in installments. In other words, the sugya said it's a done deal. The land is yours, right? And unless I protest and I neg you, then you can pay me afilu lacher kamashonim. You can pay me the extra 800 even for years and years. From here says Rav, then although it's not nice on Hogo, it's not a nice thing to do. But if somebody owes his friend $1,000,000, he can pay him in coins of there's no coins of what's his name with bills of $1 billion. Day after day he's going to pay him one bill, and the ikar din it's accepted, although it's a teraimes, it's not the nicest thing. Now comes another halacha related to us. Ahu gavra. You're going to see a very interesting thing about Rashi. How to learn Rashi. Ahu gavra. There was a man, real life story. Ahu gavra. There was a man. Dezabin lechamra lechavre. The word chamra may mean one of two things. What does chamra mean? Chamra may either mean wine or a donkey. It's the same word in Aramaic. Yeah, chamra means both wine and a donkey. Now, in this case, Rashi stresses that we're talking here about a donkey. And soon we'll see why. The pash lechad zuza. Let's say the donkey, how much does the donkey cost? Well, my donkey costs 20 zuzim. It's a very good donkey. Yeah. Let's say the donkey is worth 20 zuz. Now, the buyer bought and already paid how much? 19 zuz already, 19 zuzim. Now, the ka'ayl v'nafi kazuz is missing one zuz. One zuz is still missing, and the seller drives him crazy for that one zuz only. Now, that is a question. If you follow the plot of the story of the sugi up until now, it's not so clear, because 90% was paid already, right? Are you going to say, what? Oh, does he? Or maybe not even that. Maybe not even that, which means, do we say that, hey, he's pressed for cash, so until he doesn't get the very last penny, then it's not a done deal? Or do we say, come on, as pressed as you are for money, you got 90% of the money, so maybe you're not so pressed that he doesn't cancel the entire deal. By the way, okay, I'll say something about what you said. Yosef Ravashi sat down, the kame'ayin bo, Ravashi sat down to think about it, to look into it, to delve into the sugya, and he's asking the question, ki hai gavna mai, regarding in such a case of, is on one hand pressed for the cash, on the other hand, he got most of the cash. Kani or loy kani? Did he acquire or didn't he acquire? Yeah. Omar lay, and explained why. Oh, I want to stop here and explain something beautiful about Rashi. What's the question, kani or loy kani? Do we say, listen, come on, as pressed as you are for money, you got 90% of it. You're going to cancel the deal just because he's playing games with you and he's dawdling and postponing the 1%? Or we say, yes, I'm only here for 100% of the money. If I didn't get 100% of the money, I can back off from the deal last minute, as we say in Hebrew, at the 19th minute. One very beautiful thing about Rashi, as we don't learn Rashi inside, unfortunately, and I'd like to do more, and so would you. Rashi says one word, we're talking about a donkey, meaning donkey and not wine. Rishonim Nechonim ask, what's bothering Rashi? The famous question. What does Rashi care? The same halacha could apply to both donkey and wine, and shoes and socks, computers and phones. Why does Rashi have to dafka write? What? Close. Wine, donkey is something that cannot be split into two. I mean, you can cut a donkey into two, which is kind of not nice. And because donkeys, I think, are not kosher, you can't shecht it and split. Donkey is not something that can be halachically split normally, right? Well, wine can. Wine, before even your stage, wine, I can take the gallon of wine, the liter of wine, and divide it. When it comes to wine, one would say, listen, it's not all or nothing. I would say, as you said, by wine, it's true what you said. I would say, whichever part I paid for, and I'm the koiner, I acquire. You're not happy with the last, let's say I buy 20 liters for 200 shekels, yeah? So the last liter for how much would be 10 shekels, I didn't pay. The last liter is not mine, and the 19 are mine. That can be nice and sweet. But donkey, you can't say that. Maybe going to say the partner is in the donkey? No. That's the chiddush of Rashi. Rashi says, no, nobody wants to be a partner here. Mapitom. when I buy from you, it's either a deal and I'm the owner, or it's not a deal and back to the original owner, the seller's the owner. Nobody wants to be a partner here. Nobody is very friendly, anyways, in this case, right? And therefore, we say Dafka Rashi has to say it's a donkey to tell me it's an all or nothing story. Do we say that when you got to 90%, the donkey belongs to Reuven or to Shimon? That's a really sharp question. Ever happened to you, the computer? You know, it loading, 90%, and then it stops for a long time. Yeah, like I said, that's a story here. Okay, weiter. That's a question, and it's still, yeah. 1 second, please. Rabbi, give me a second. What's the answer? Quote to Drove saying, Zuzah kizuzei dami. What's Zuzah? What's Zuzei? That's singular and that's plural. You know, plural in Aramaic is with a yud. One zuz is like 100 zuz, veloikani. Until it's not over, till it's over. If I show that I'm pressed and pressed for the last 1 shekel, I pressed for that 1 shekel. Don't be in my situation. I need to buy bread and milk for my kids tomorrow. If you're playing games, even with 1 shekel, that kind of deal, I'm not interested. And therefore, not even 1 molecule, 1 DNA of the donkey will not be yours, will all be mine. But how the conditions will work out, that is up to the other side. Yes, Rabbi, more questions, and then, yes. Beautiful, beautiful point made by the Rabbi. Very nice. The choir here by a donkey, made by land, you can say money is what buys. As long as not all the money was given, right, then it's still up in the air. But by a donkey, money doesn't buy donkeys. Money can't buy you any metaltalin. Elamai Meshicha. So if Meshicha was done, it means it's a done deal. Zok Toises Animal Vil Chidish. Don't fall off your chairs, or maybe you should. Even if there was Kinyan Meshicha. Wow. Yes. I like that eyebrow. Even though there was a Kinyan Meshicha, which usually means done deal, because I show right after the Meshicha, I'm the seller, and I ask him, money, 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 down to the last check. And he is like, oh, I take my time. That shows that my condition by the Mechira, by the Meshicha, was in order to get money. If I don't get the money within reasonable amount of time, Mimele, that Meshicha falls and fails. Wow, 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 wow. It's a big wow. It's a condition in the Mechira, which is a non-verbal condition. But sometimes the person's behavior, action speaks louder than words, right, Rabbi? Yofi. So to here, the action of the Moicher, money, 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 and money is not coming, shows that original Meshicha that was done a month ago is not a real Kinyan. It's a very big Kiddush, but that's what Tessim says. Wow. Oh, the Knas is that it's up to the other guy, the losing side, to decide whether he will get part of the donkey, and there will be partnership, or he'll get the cash. In other words, the buyer wants to buy the donkey very much. Now the buyer says, "What, Mr. Seller, you're canceling?" And the seller says, "Yeah, go to Amud Yomi Shiur. Look online, YouTube. Look in the Gemara. It says what? I'm allowed to cancel. You're allowed to, but you're going to be not on the winning side, which means that the buyer would decide whether he'll get all his money back, all 19 zuzim back, or he will get 90% of the donkey." Well, he didn't. Yeah. Yeah, he does, of course. If he does that, it's not a problem. Of course. Yeah, weiter. Unbelievable. Very nice. Now, welcome back. Now, Omar le Ravacha b'eder of Yosef le Ravashi. We're soon to start a new Mishnah. That's exciting. End of Ein Zayin Amud Beis. Omar le Ravacha b'eder of Yosef le Ravashi. Da'amrinan mishmei doro ve'kni. The question is, says Ravacha b'eder of Yosef le Ravashi, we say, it's accepted in this medrash to quote Rav as saying that there was a kinyan, in which case, if 90% of the money was given and only 1 zuz was not given, it's already a kinyan, nish geferlech. The fact is so pressed for 1 shekel, is not such a big deal. So it's a stira. What did Rava say? Does Rava care? According to Rava, does the Mocher care about the 1 shekel to the point of canceling the deal, or no? Yeah. It's a stira. Omarlei, to targum shmaitzich, you have to translate, explain your sugya, what you heard, b'moicher sadeu mipnei roso, as I told you before. We're talking here about a person selling his field or his donkey, whatever, because the land is really, really bad, which means, as I told you before, there could be many, many reasons why people sell their houses. And you can tell me 10 reasons. The main two reasons which we're dealing with now, in order to explain the answer, is as follows. Either the person is really, really pressed for cash. He has an extra house. He has two houses. He's so pressed for cash. He needs to feed his children, or he has really better deal. He really needs the cash now. He sells the house. Or, you know why he sells the house? Again, could be other reasons, but let's ignore it. The other reason, that house is a leaking over here, cracked walls over there, the worst neighbors your wild imagination can imagine. Horrible house. Get rid of it ASAP. Oh, now we have two factors together. Let's say the person, not even with 1 shekel, let's say the person, there was a sale, oh, very nice, mazel tov, there was money given, and then things started getting sour. Why? Seller says, money, 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 SMS, what's up? Money, 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 right now, I want my payments. And the buyer says, get off my back, you nag, yeah? When will I pay you? When I feel like. When my neshama feels like paying you, then I'll pay you. Yeah, very big differences. Oh, so then what? Usually, what do we say? According to the normal case, it's not a sale. The mekach tos. It's like mekach tos. It's not a shidduch, right? That's the general words of Rava, right? Generally, that's what Rava said. However, when did Rava say the other way? Let's say we know that the person's house is a really, really bad house. He wants to get rid of it by hook or by crook, and he doesn't really mind waiting with the money because he's hafuch. The seller, it's a hot potato. The seller wants to get it. Oh, we found a buyer for that horrid, horrible, horrific house. Ghost house, yeah. Oh, good, Baruch Hashem. First payment, mazel tov, great. Why is he nagging for money? Fakir, says Rashi, because he's scared that the other side will revoke, will regret, yeah? The seller wants to sell it. In any event, he always wants to sell it. In such a case, even though he presses for the money, we don't interpret it as a condition because we know he wants to sell the house with no conditions. It's a hot potato he wants to get rid of. And in such a case, even without 1 shekel, even 100 shekel, even the whole amount, even though he presses for money, that's an exception to the exception of the rule. Yeah, yeah. The person is pressing for money, but we know that field is yeah, he just wants to get it out of his sight, out of his ownership. Such a case, and a chinami, we say that the sale is a sale, even though he presses and the other one is not coming through. Weiter, weiter, weiter. Shita. Oh, Ein Ches. We're starting today's Amud. Oh, today's Amud we're starting now. Shita. Oh, one case still to do with our Inyan. Ein Ches Amud Aleph. One case is simple. Boil is buni b'mea. Let's say a person wanted to sell his house or his apartment, his land for 100. Oh, before I'll give you a small introduction. Imagine yourself a person, just to help me here with the math. Yeah, a person has two houses, small and big. The small house is 100 zuz worth, and the big house is worth 200 zuz. Okay, fine. Now he doesn't lose anything. Originally, what he wants to do is sell the smaller house of 100. He wants 100 cash. His ideal picture in his mind is the small house. I don't need, nobody lives there, and I need cash. Okay, so he wants to have 100 check, 100 zuz, 100,000, whatever cash, and maintain the 200 zuz house as real estate. Right? That's what Gemara says in Daf Mem Beis. You have to have some cash, some real estate, some this. Very nice. That's his ideal. If life was perfect, that's what Mr. X, Mr. Plony wants to do. That's the starting point of the story. Now, boil is buni b'mea. The person wants to sell his smaller house for 100. V'lo yashkach. He really, really looked. I'm not saying it. You have to realize that he really looked for buyers. Nobody wants to buy the small house for 100. V'zobin b'mosaim. He sold a different field, the other house, worth double and bigger double, yeah, for 200. Okay. Now, what does he want? He obviously wants now what? He got 200 cash. What does he want now? Obviously, what would be the first thing he does when he wakes up tomorrow morning after Shachris? He's to look for another small house worth 100, right? Because, of course, because he doesn't want really 200 cash. He wants 100 cash and 200 value in land, right? So he sold he has too much cash, right? He sold 200. Yes, he sold, it's not in the chart, it should be in your mind. Yeah. Instead of selling the 100 and getting 100 cash, he sold, unfortunately, had no other choice. He sold the 200 big one. He got 200 cash. It's not what he wants. He's a very savvy, calculated businessman. Now what he wants to do is obviously buy another piece of land for 100, maintain 100 cash as he wanted, and wants now to buy another 100 worth of karka for the 100 shekels. Yeah, and then he'll have 200 together of karkois and 100 cash. That's his dream. But what happened then? So then the ka'ayil v'nafi kazuzi. Now the 200 shekels guy, he sold the 200 shekels to someone, and that someone is slow with the money, according to him. He's nagging, I need the cash, I need the cash. WhatsApp, SMS, emails, I don't know, outer space, Wi-Fi's, what? And it's too slow in his opinion, and he's very, very pressed. Loy kani, that it's not a Kenyan. Why isn't it a Kenyan? Because obviously, if he presses for the money, he wants the money. You're slow with the money. Why did he tell you this whole story? Because Rashi says something very smart here. Rashi says, L'choira, once he got the 100 cash and he's still nagging, why do we say that it's not a deal? He got his 100 cash. Why is he so pressed for the other 100? The answer is because he wants the other 100 to buy another piece of land. It's true that he was only pressed for cash for a 100 cash, but he's also pressed for the other 100 in order to buy with that another piece of land. So at the end of the day, as long as he didn't pay him down to the last shekel, and this is good land, not a bad one, up to the 100 shekel, it's not over till the fat lady sings, until he give me the one last dime. That's posher. That's simple. That's similar to the cases we had before. However, Ella comes another question, a more subtle question. He wanted to sell his original house, the smaller one, for 100, as the storyline started before. Veloy ashkach, he didn't find, what didn't he find? He didn't find a buyer. However, vitorach hava mashkach, had he tried a little bit harder, he could have found a buyer for the 100 shekel house. Veloy torach, he didn't really look hard enough. He didn't put advertisement all over the newspapers and the internet and Yad Time. He didn't do all that. He didn't really work hard enough to sell the 100 shekel land. And too quickly, he was too quick to give up on what? Bizobin b'mosayim. He was too quick to give up on the land of 200. He could have avoided it, and he just lazy says, "Okay, I'll sell the 200," which was easier to sell. The ka'al v'nafi kazuzi. Oh, now he's pressed for cash. What's the question here? How do we view it? What is the question? We said before, what was the one case that if the seller is pressing for cash, it is still a Kenyan? When is that? When the land is bad. Because we know, even though it's pressing for cash, he never wants to cancel the deal. No way. Back to that ghost horrible house with all the snakes and scorpions and horrible neighbors? No, I don't want to go back there. Obviously not. Why is he pressing? Because he's OCD. He was born under a certain zodiac sign with a nag everybody all the time. Whatever. Bachpat, yeah. Lamaisa is nagging. In this case, it's a middle of the road case. Why? It's not really a bad land. On the other hand, we see that he gave up on that land very quickly. Originally wanted to sell the 100 for the cash. He too quickly gave up on the idea of selling the 100 and sold the 200. So if you show me daitcha that land of 200 is not so prized in your eyes and you're too quick to give up on it, then you have a question. Do we say it's subjective or objective? The land is not a bad land. It's a nice, neat apartment in Ramat Bet Shemesh. Even though it's in Ramat Bet Shemesh, there's no leaking over there. Nice. Yes, stop. Yeah, it's a good apartment. It's a nice apartment, but he is too quick to sell it for no apparent reason. That's a question. Do we deal with it as if it's a bad land and it's not a done deal? It's a done deal because it's a bad land. Or do we say, no, Lamaisa is pressing and is going crazy, and Mimela would say that he shows bedaitoi, b'maisov, that he just wants cash. And otherwise, it's not a real bad land. Teiku, remain in the teiku. Fine. I will hopefully, when we get to, as you notice here, as you can see, on the last paragraph before the Mishnah, and then I hope to maybe give a very general summary of the entire Mishnah and the Gemara up until now, if you're interested. And that will include also what we did today. Sochar, Sechamar, Vesakadar, that case of the Mishnah was the case of Dover Ha'oved. Let's say the Poyalim. The Poyal in the case of the Mishnah is a donkey driver or a car driver. A Bekitzer driver who's supposed to bring you something urgently from one place to the other. And he stood you up. You got an SMS from him. No, I'm not coming to work. And what's the case here? It's an urgent case. It's time sensitive. I need it for tonight, for what? For my daughter's wedding, Hashem, the Chalilin, the flutes, or Lolenu, for the dead person's Levaya, he also needs Chalilim, for the mourners, Mimel, for the mourners. Now, what do we say? It's an urgent thing. It's an urgent thing. and therefore the poel, the kula alma, even according to Rabbi Doisa, is going to lose. What is he going to lose? Well, what's a big punishment? What did we say? Either I will now get other people, and I need them now, and I don't have. I'm the employer. I'm the one commissioning the job. I'm the father of the kala. I need the band to come to the wedding now. The wedding is in 2 hours, and you stood me up. And then what? I'll get expensive people, because usually express job is more expensive. And who will have to absorb the loss? The poilim stood him up, right? Oy matan, or I can lie to them. I can lie to them and tell them. Originally, we said 5,000 to come and play my daughter's wedding, and now you're telling me on your way to the airport to a holiday in Cyprus. Yeah. Then come to the wedding here in Kidor David Bechemesh, 10,000. Oh, and they're coming at the end of the wedding. How much will pay them? 5. Very nice. Now, frag the Gemara. Ad kama soicher len. Up until here's a big machlokes hashonim. Big machlokes hashonim. I'll start with Rashi. Ad kama soicher len, which means, you know what? No, actually, I'll be very non-traditional. I'll start here with the Rosh. Ad kama soicher len, according to the Rosh, means that let's say they were promised 5,000. They didn't come to do the job, right? They're not getting the 5,000, of course, right? Not only that, they, from their own pocket, as we explained up until now, will have to pay the new band, right? Up until what? Million? Let's say instead of the regular Menagne, Mesamchim, whoever, Shprenzelovsky, the band player, I said, oh, Shweki is in town. I don't know how much he charges for a chasana. Yeah, probably many zeros. Yeah, I'll get Shweki and they'll pay for Shweki. What do you say? That's a good idea. No? Ishai Ribo. That's nice. Oh. No, the same. Yeah, my daughter would love it. Yeah, let's match that. Well, how much can I, and ask them to pay for it? Yeah, how much are they punished for standing me up and flying to Cyprus instead of playing at the wedding? Amar Nachman ad kedei scharon, the same amount of their sachar, which means if they were offered 5,000, they will have to pay the other artist, which comes instead of them 5,000. And if it costs 7,000, they'll pay 5,000. Not double. That's not true. It's 5,000. And I will have to pay the other 2. If it's Shweki, they'll pay 5,000, and I'll pay 5 million, whatever. They'll pay however much, they were supposed to be getting. That's according to the Rosh, that's simpler. Now, as opposed to what? They'll have to fork money out of their own pocket. Now, what happens if it's not Dover Oved? Just want to stress and read the whole Mishnah together. If it's not Dover Oved, then what? They're not going to lose, they don't have to pay any extra according to the Rosh. If it's not Dover Oved, and I could wait and get people cheaper later, then what? If they started to work, remember what we said? Then, if they started to work and I owe them 500, and the other guy is asking for the other side of the wall 700, I'll only give them 300. Remember that? The balance, they'll have to pay for the balance, meaning they'll have to be paid less than the original, but they will never have to pay extra. They don't have to actually lose from their own pockets. That, according to the Rosh, is very clear. So I'll follow the Rosh now, not Rashi. I don't want to confuse you. I wrote in the chart. I wrote both opinions. It says somewhere else in the Brisa that a person may even pay the new band and make the old criminal band or criminal person who stood him up 40 or 50 zuz. Let's say, what did we speak about the Mishnah? 4 zuz. 40 zuz is 10 times more, 50 even more. I don't know, maybe even more. In other words, we say much more. Not just the salary that was promised to them, but even 10 times more. So there's a stira. How much should the bad, in inverted commas, people should pay? Those who stood him up, how much should they suffer from their own pocket to pay for the new workers to come instead? Is just the amount of their salary originally, or much more? Amalei, Kitanya, that Brisa that spoke about a high payment? No. Shabosa Chavila Leyodoi. Shabosa Chavila Leyodoi means what? Bosa Chavila Leyodoi, let's say that those workers, let's say it's a painter who comes to your house and he already started working or was about to start to work, and he brought into your house very fancy, expensive paint and very fancy equipment. Oh, let's say it's an interior designer and he brought a very fancy computer. Of what? With all the designing programs there. What can you do now? You can take that money which is in your house and pay with that to the new people even 10 times more than original salary. Why? Because once it's in your hands, then mimela, you have what we call in halacha tfisa. Tfisa. In other words, if the person really they owe me everything, let me just re-clarify. Really, Bamis, those people are criminals. They owe me whichever new guy that I have to rent, and I don't have time to look for the cheap and do market research. I need my house painted tonight. Tonight we have a big event. I need the event tonight at the wedding, which is in 2 hours. I can't start wedding. And the only one in town is Shreki. What can I do? Whatever. Yeah. Then what? If there's nothing in my hand that belongs to them, then we'll say, okay, how much would they lose? Whatever they're going to gain, they're going to lose, right? That's like the knas. They're supposed to get 5,000. They pay 5,000 to do the band. I may have to pay the rest. But if they have their equipment like me, let's say the simchas in my house and they brought their piano and their drums and their saxophone to my house, I'm allowed to confiscate it. Why? Because be'etzim really they owe me the entire thing. I cannot be tovei it and take it from their hands. But once it's in my hands, once the motzim raya is in my hands, I'm the muchzak, and really, really they owe it to me. Imela can take all that fancy equipment, and with that I'll pay 50,000, 100,000 to the new guy. That's a maskana. Let's make a quick summary. Yeah, that's up until now was Rashi. Rashi is of a different opinion. Rashi says that they will never have to give up from their own money, then will only deduct from their salary. And the difference between Dover Ovid. Yeah, what did we speak about? What did we say? Oh, thank you for helping me summarize. You tell me, everybody, what would be the halacha if they tell him, they're not saying we're on holiday in Cyprus because we feel like it, but they say, oh, my baby fell on his face, chas v'shalom, and I'm in emergency room, and there's say tilim, then they don't lose. Yeah, it's before Shabbos before, right? Then you don't make them lose. That's dover ovid be'oines. Then you look for new people, and it's not their fault. Of course, they have to prove it, whatever. That's a different nekuda. Summary time. It's not yet summer time, but it's summary time. So, although I like to always rush forwards, let's summarize the entire Mishnah. Wow. First part of the Mishnah, if you remember, let's make a quick summary. Yeah, until 10:25. Case number 1, and I also have it written down. If you don't get an email from me, remind me. Case number 1 in the Mishnah. A person sent a messenger to workers saying, what? I'm going to give you 3 zuzim or 4 zuzim. And the kochel efele, the messenger decided to play smart, be the smart aleck, and the messenger changed from the word of alabais in a way that makes them unhappy, the poelim. We're not going to the details now. Then, because in certain cases, at the end of the day, they were paid, and there's no real loss over there. There's like potential loss. And they can only be angry with a worker, not angry with Balabais. Balabais never promised them otherwise. Yeah, Balabais told them 3, let's say, and the worker, who's their friend, who's the messenger, representing badly Balabais, he says, no, you're going to get 4. He wants to attract them, and he only got 3. Balabais, it's not his fault. What do you want? I always said 3. That Tipish said 4. He promised you false promises, castles in the air. Nobody owes them anything, right? Elamai, they have Toraimis against the worker saying, you knew the Balabai said what? Said 3. You promised us 4. We thought we were going to get 4. You disappointed us. We could have done this. We could have done that. The Gemara has different ideas. Yeah, we have our own field. We could have gotten by fancier Balabais. Lamaisa, it's not a real loss. Case number 2. What happens when workers or Balabais, like in this case of that we just saw now, yeah, they stand him up or he stands them up. Yeah, in other words, he who cancels on them last moment. If it's Dover Ovid, we just saw now, they stood me up the polling. I don't have to wait. I can't wait. It's urgent. I'll get new people, and they'll have to pay from their own pocket, according to the Rosh, the amount of money that the new workers charge, unless it's an oines, and then they don't have to pay. Case number 3 in the Mishnah. What happens if in the middle of the workday, and it's not Dover Ovid? Yeah, remember the painting job in my house? Good. A person wants to paint his house. It's not urgent. His wife has been nagging him for the past 30 years to paint the house. Yeah, he can wait from today to tomorrow, even a month's time. All is good. Yeah, before Tisha B'av, before the 9 days, Mashiach will come. Then what? They painted half the wall, right? And then they said, we're not coming back tomorrow. Then, what's going to happen? I'm going to get new people now, right? And those new people may charge more, right? They're supposed to paint the wall for 1,000. They did a 500 shekels job, right? Now they're calling me, we're not coming tomorrow. Why? Because we don't like you anymore, whatever that is, yeah? So now we're talking about kablonim, not poelim. They're getting paid not per hour but per job, which makes it harder for them to leave work, right? According to Rabbi Doisa. Says Rabbi Doisa in the Mishnah, Yad Poel Tachtoino. Those Poelim are not allowed to live in the middle of work because they're Kablonim, and therefore, are they going to get the 500? Maybe. What do you mean maybe? If the other workers, I have to call new workers now. Okay, I can wait next week to get a cheaper job, do some market research. I got other people for 500. The first guys will get 500, and I don't like them. The other guys will get 500. 500 plus 500 is 1,000. Mashenken, if the new guys are asking for 700, says Rabbi Doisa, you guys were not fair for leaving me in the lurch, and therefore, how much would the old guys get? If the new guys get 700, the old guys will get 300. Chachamim say no. Chachamim who are not mentioned in the Mishnah, but the Brisa they say no. Chachamim says Yad Poel al Yoino Kilibnei Yisrael Avodim. Workers' rights are very strong, even by Umnin, even by Umnei Kabbalonus, and really the original guys will always get the 500, and the Balabais will have to absorb the difference, pay 500 to them and 700 to the new guys. That's Begadol, Rabbi Doisa and Chachamim. Then we had two more cases, and when the Balabais returns, when the Balabais is the one who's being nasty, and all of a sudden gives them a call, I'm firing you in the middle of the work, then everyone agrees, which means if they're supposed to get 500 and the Balabais got newer people for 300, he'll still have to pay them 700. He'll pay them more because you have to pay 1,000 for the wall. Yeah, don't make money and be cheap and cheating, we're supposed to get 1,000. I really fired them in the middle, now I'm only paying 700. That's ugly. And therefore you have to pay a whole 1,000, you stay with their old price, and they'll get more. They will not lose because you stood them up and you canceled them. Now, what was the other two cases in the Mishnah? The second to last case was a case of an uman, mishana yoda ala tachtoino. By the way, the Hebrew term all the time is yoda ala tachtoino. The one has the lower end. That's the theme of the Mishnah. The one who changes, the one who stops, the one who stands out, the one who cancels for no apparent reason, he's yoda ala tachtoino. He always has the raw end of the deal. Oh, that's where the need. Now, what's the last case? The second to last case, as I gave, let's say, a craftsman, a person who dyes wool to dye red, and he dyed it black, he will lose. Why did you change from what I told you? Why did you disobey the boss? Yeah, I'm the one who's telling you what to do here. I gave you the wool, so I'll pay you because you really did a very nice job painting it the wrong color. And therefore, I'll either pay you the expenses or the result. In other words, whatever is cheaper. Either the expenses of 100 and not the result of now it's market price of 200, the lower. If you spend 100 painting it and 50 is what it goes in the market, the lost price, I'll pay you 50. The very, very last case was the case of the Kinyan Karka. That's the last case. What's the other case called? Oh, now we know. The very last case of the Mishnah was what? Let's say there's a land. Oh, the land was for sale. And I got the first payment. And it wasn't so clear whether it's Kinyan or not. The assumption is it's a Kinyan. Everyone goes out smiling. Oh, the day later, like bad marriage, day later the problems begin. There's a crack here in this ideal situation. He wants money now, and he wants money later. He wants time. That is not lo el hanar zehis palalti. It's not a deal because it shows even if there was a kinyan meshich in case of metaltalin, and the person is allowed to go back on the deal. However, since money was given and we're very close to a deal, mimela, the one who changes is the one who's allowed to basically wash his hands off the deal and cancel the deal, but the way that the deal will be canceled is up to the other side, the suffering side, and not up to the bad guy, so to speak, the change. Which means, let's say, let's change now the case here. Let's say the one who wants to go back is Dafka, the buyer. The buyer says, I've had with this snag. I don't have koch for this snagging. He can go back. I want to go back. I don't have koch for this snag typish to drive me crazy all the time. I want out of this deal. Oh, I can do that. The rabbi told me. Then what? Yeah, you can go back on the deal. However, the one who will decide how to play the cards is the other side, meaning that he will decide whether he'll return all the money you gave and then it's completely canceled, or the seller will decide to, yes, let's say you paid him 50%, that you will have 50% staying, and the other 50% will stay his. You'll be able to shoot him. Okay. Thank you very much. So we're up to the Mishnah. Okay, up to the Mishnah, Baruch Hashem, getting ready for Kabbalah Satoiro. Thank you very much to everybody in YouTube, everybody in Torah Anytime, and mainly everybody over here. Thank you very much. Atzlocha u'borocha b'chol inyonim.